of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
It's asking them to do something, and you don't find out anything from it. You find out nothing from it. This is the main reason why I really hate it. You can get them in there, and somebody might do just a slap-up job for that day, but that's what they've aimed at, that day. You have to be able to figure out whether they're going to be any good for 3 months while you're working with them.
So Mel Gibson just came forward with some shocking truths about Diddy, making it that much harder for to escape his fate. Mel's not exactly a straight arrow. He's got demons of his own. However, one thing he has been committed to from day one is exposing the dark side of the industry. The actor has raised his voice about trafficking and about monsters like Diddy lurking in the dark. But telling the truth is never easy, and Mel ended up paying the ultimate price with his career. The actor was blacklisted from the industry, but now everything he said is being proven true, so it seems like the fight was worth it. Just what did he say, and did he really expose Diddy's secret footage? Let's find out.
He just sat down in the chair next to me, and it kind of frightened me. And he's a very smart guy.
So Mel's kind of always been vocal about the dark side of the industry, and he really ended up on everyone's radar after he went out of his way to promote the film Sound of Freedom back in 2023. The movie focuses on the true story of former government agent turned vigilante who embarks on a dangerous mission to rescue hundreds of children from traffickers. And while a lot of folks felt that the film raised an important issue, Jim Cavell, who played the lead actor, highlighted how this wasn't just a global problem. Hollywood was guilty of exploiting minions as well. In fact, he said that the problem didn't end with Epstein Island.
I can say one thing. I showed it in Vegas, and there was 5 screenings, about 1,500 people that saw it. During the 5 screenings, each screening, there was a talking going on. And I was like watching the audience going, what? The second time it happened. Again, third time, talking in this one particular spot. And I'm thinking, what, did we do something wrong or something? But so then one more time it happened. At the end, I was asking about the movie, and I asked him about that one particular part where everybody's talking, and they all cried out Epstein Island. And I went, oh, okay. Now I understand what we're up against. Wow. Epstein Island isn't the only island out there. And Tim Ballard takes down one of the... We have a republic right now, and there's a chance we could lose it right now. We don't have a south border anymore. Our children right now are being just absolutely screwed over left and right, and we've got LGBTQ+++. Children making abortion laws where you can have a baby in California 27 days after it's born. Insanity, and making easier. And I'm looking at the Christians. If Christians would just unite, what we could do, but it can't happen if we don't have Christians that will answer that question from God. Will you do something? When God tells you what to do, you can't hesitate. That's what faith is.
Speaking of Jim, he actually played the role of Jesus in The Passion of the Christ, and he's given multiple interviews in which he talks about a shadowy international group of top Democratic politicians and famous liberal elites kidnapping children. Some of his comments are distasteful.
Sound of Freedom has a message filled with hope and inspiration. The film sparks conversations and encourages people to help end trafficking in their own community.
However, fans were really surprised when Mel Gibson joined the conversation as well. He urged fans to watch the movie so they could learn about a deep-rooted problem.
Something very almost unbearable about it.
I found it. Well, all the actresses I've spoken to, all without prompting, come up with something of how detestable is the casting process. Not the old casting couch thing, just the thing of not having someone good to read with, you know, and being expected to come in and emote and look sexy and the whole thing in front of a bunch of strangers.
It's not fair.
It's perverse.
Well, it's not fair on them either.
No.
It's asking them to do something, and you don't find out anything from it.
Nothing.
You find out nothing from it. This is the main reason why I really hate it. You can get them in there, and somebody might do just a slap-up job for that day, but that's what they've aimed at that day. You have to be able to figure out whether they're going to be any good for 3 months while you're working with them. And the best way to do that is to get them in a room, sit them down, and it may be uncomfortable, as it always is getting to know someone to begin with. And they think they're going to have to read, so you tell them, well, to begin with, I don't want you to read anything, and then they sort of relax a little. And you say, I'm not making anybody read, so they don't feel like they're being out. Well, you choose the ones who you want to be with, for a start. I never make them read or anything. I doubt that you do either.
I don't like it.
I don't understand
I get
that.
embarrassed.
I get embarrassed.
And when they cry in a reading, I get like, oh, God.
Yeah. You want to go in.
You want to leave because you feel you shouldn't be there.
Well, it seems like you're doing something terribly wrong. You feel like some kind of a, I mean, you feel as if you're committing a crime.
Yeah.
And it's kind of slimy. It's kind of prostitution.
Sure.
But that, I think, is even beyond. It's just kind of watching someone go through the act of prostituting themselves.
It felt like Mel wanted to expose the dark side of the industry. And guess who didn't want that happening, did he? Of course, the former music mogul has been charged with trafficking. And so back then, if anyone wanted Mel to stop shining a light on the movie, it would have been Diddy. But see, the problem with Mel was that he was dead set on exposing the dark side of the industry. He also made it a point to help Britney Spears, who was put in a conservatorship by Lou Taylor, aka one of Diddy's co-conspirators. According to one of Britney's close friends, was one of the only people who reached out to help Britney when she was at her lowest point. And she believes that demonstrates what a loving and wonderful man he is. She wants people to give him a second chance, just like he gave her one when everyone else turned away. And get this, apparently after Britney had her public breakdown in May 2008, she felt comfortable with Mel. The two were spotted walking along the Baragona beach in Estanis of Guanacaste. Now, some fans think that the real reason Mel went out of his way to help Britney was because he was aware of the evils of the industry, including the skeletons in Diddy's closet. And that's exactly why Diddy tried to silence him. See, the movie is focused on how minions are kidnapped and sold. There was a lot of misinformation, online reports about the movie being disappointing and inappropriate. But according to people who actually watched the movie, the whole thing was a ruse approved by the higher ups in the industry, who didn't want people to pay attention to the subject. One person commented, "So I'm one of the people who have been waiting the 5 years to watch the movie. I first heard of it years ago and been waiting. So yes, it's true that many studios refused to take the movie. It's true that Hollywood gave them a hard time to get this out here. This was something mentioned years ago. It's not being said now for publicity effect too. There's absolutely nothing graphic shown in the movie, but a picture of a bloody man in a Polaroid. And it's a quick glance. The producers did a great job of making sure there were no violent scenes and sexual scenes, leaving the rest to your imagination. So, for the people crying in here about that, stop the lies or go see the movie yourself. At the end of the day, whether the actors or the people behind the movie have done or said anything you don't agree with, it shouldn't stop you from going to see the movie and shining a light on a very real problem." Meanwhile, slightly offensive podcast host Elijah Shar also agreed with the message behind the film. He made a tweet exposing the ties between the movie and the reality of the industry, while highlighting Mel's efforts to get people to watch the movie. He wrote, "Shocking Mel Gibson. Sound of Freedom is the real deal. Warned about the evils of Hollywood in 1998, predicted how they turn on him, alludes to actors being actual demons. He knows something very dark and wants To expose it, the seriousness in his voice is chilling. However, we want to make it clear that Mel had nothing to do with producing the film. He has no credits. All he did was make a video trying to get people to watch the movie. As for the 1998 interview that Elijah was referring to, well, that's a whole different story. Mel sat down with writer and composer Mike Vigas for an interview to talk about the dark truths of the industry. And man, did he have a lot to say.
I just started talking about the Middle Ages, and he began to talk tortures. And we swapped tortures because I'd read this book on torture, and I tried to recall some of the most heinous things I'd ever read in this book, and he was like, oh, and he'd try and top it, and my assistant was there, and he left because he couldn't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
The air had turned cold. And then he left, and I wanted to leave. And because I knew that I didn't want to work with him.
Yeah.
And he was getting scary.
Yeah.
And then I turned around, and it was on top of the Peninsula Hotel. I turned around to avoid his steady gaze at one point.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a building with the top of the sixes on it. So there was a huge illuminated triple six in red.
Yeah.
And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist, you know?
And so it was clear that Mel had no interest in aligning himself with the dirty bigwigs in the industry. And that's exactly why some fans think that the industry tried to silence Mel. And that's what drove him to a public breakdown. See, Mel has trouble handling his alcohol, which some fans think was his way of coping with the dark shadows lurking in the industry. Like Diddy, fans learned about his troubles for the first time back in 1984. When he rear-ended a car, the actor was obviously arrested for the B incident, and, well, it was obvious he needed to get help. And so he became a part of Alcoholics Anonymous in 1991. However, it didn't seem like Mel managed to conquer his demons, because in 2006 he was back to driving drunk behind the steering wheel. He was pulled over shortly after 2:00 a.m. on July 28th in Malibu, California, for speeding, and get this, it wasn't just another DUI. He was actively trying to stop living. However, Gibson has since then made progress with his mental health. In fact, he looked back to the night in an exclusive interview on Good Morning America, saying, "I just went home and saw my kids were there. I talked to them for a little bit, and it was a little rough that morning. I chased it down with a few cold ones. It was kind of unbearable to face. I said, well, this will be the end of it. But I just have to get through this morning. You're not operating well. But you have to do something." I wasn't flashing it in front of them or anything. However, one thing we should mention is that Mel isn't exactly a saint here. Sure, he raises his voice to expose the evils of the industry. But Mel has some demons to answer for as well. Even his arrest in 2006. When Mel was pulled over by the cops that night, he made a series of anti-Semitic comments that put him in the hot seat. And then, let's also not forget the public humiliation he suffered because of screenwriter Joe Estahouse. He released an audio recording of Mel going off on his house guests. Joe might have been the one to hand the tape to the rep, but the audio was actually recorded by his son on an iPod, who was also present at the gathering.
Who the f*** wants to eat? Go have something to eat! Hooray! I'm gonna work! You're getting paid! I'm not! I have earned money so I can send to the
Not as for why Joe released the tape. Well, he did it to prove to everyone that Gibson did try to sabotage a film about a famous 2nd century BC Jewish revolt for anti-Semitic reasons. And while with all these incidents lined up, Mel was shut out of the industry. He didn't take on any projects for more than a decade before finally making his return in 2016 in Hacksaw Ridge. Now it's understandable why Mel was booted out of the controversy, given his problematic behavior. No one in the industry wanted to take him on, but some fans think that the real reason Gibson was blacklisted was because he went against the higher US and threatened to expose people like Diddy. But what do you think? Was Mel really blacklisted? Or did he simply pay the price for his wrongdoings? Let us know in the comment section. And make sure to check out this video. Okay, some of us are against the Illuminati. And we are against the Illuminati at our own detriment. When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face. All the time the press hates them. Nobody likes them. Okay, so Cat Williams might want to watch his back and stay out of trouble for the next couple of weeks, because word on the streets is that he is starting to get on the bad side of some very powerful people in the industry. After his recent rants exposing some powerful individuals, Cat has had social media in a chokehold since the year started, but it looks like things are about to get crazier than he bargained for, because he might have a target on his back. What exactly did he say about these powerful people? And did someone really put a hit out?
Up and because he is re-upped.
I owe you a dinner, man. I obviously can't afford to get anything.
Martin tried to put me in my first dress. When he had to go on his hiatus, he tell me, Cat, when I come back, I need you. You my young partner, you my brother in comedy. When I come back, just promise me that my next movie, it'll be me and you.
It is possible that there isn't anything funnier than a guy in a dress. And if that's the case, then it might also be said that there's nothing funnier than a black guy in a dress.
Okay, so this drama started after Diddy's Cassie filed a jaw-dropping bombshell of a case against him, accusing him of SAW and a whole bunch of other shady stuff. The details of the case were so bad that it literally had a trigger warning on the first page of the court documents. The lawsuit, which was filed in U.S. District Court in Manhattan, also accused Diddy of regularly putting paws on Cassie over the course of a 10-year professional and romantic relationship, in which he controlled her through intimidation, and by plying her with substances. After this entire bombshell of a lawsuit was dropped, people began to come out to accuse Diddy of various improper acts. And Cat Williams is one of such people. On the 1st of January, Cat Williams spared nothing at all as he sat for an interview with the Shay Network. Knowing who Cat Williams is, he's definitely not one to shy away from talking about the evils that are subtly going down in the industry, like the Illuminati. When given an opportunity, he never passes on giving his 2 cents about how some of the celebs like Kevin Hart and Jay-Z, to mention a few, who he claims to allegedly get involved in nasty and dark situations behind the scenes. Cat has called out Kevin Hart on several occasions for being an industry plant who sold his soul for success. He even went as far as hinting that K might allegedly have helped Diddy to successfully allegedly assay some younger men. What y'all, that's definitely information that's out of this world. So going back to the interview, Cat unleashed total chaos on the internet and had our mouse agape with the help of Shannon Sharp. Cat is someone who doesn't speak much, but whenever he speaks, you can trust him to not tell a lie. He might tell a joke, he never tells a lie. And he is considered to low-key be somewhat of a whistleblower. Cat, in his interview, had a lot to say about Diddy, starting from how he tried to get him into his bed,